The crew from the film Saint Laurent, directed by Bertrand Bonello, is here in Cannes. The film is in the official competition. I am delighted to welcome Emmeline Valade, Amira Kaza, Léa Seydoux, who is back after her Golden Palm last year. Welcome back. Welcome to Jérémy Régnier and Gaspard Ulliel. And of course, welcome to you, Bertrand Bonello, with your film Saint Laurent. 10 years in the life of Saint Laurent, and also an older version of Saint Laurent. How did you make your choices? Well, the 10 years were chosen with the idea of focusing in on a section of life, not a biopic, but I didn't want to spread over the whole lifetime of Yves Saint Laurent. I wanted to select the most exciting years of his life in terms of fashion and his personal life, and the 10 years which interested me for society, the world at large. Everything was changing. And I thought it would be interesting to have a later point of view and to edit in parallel, to look back and remember. You chose Helmut Berger to play the older version. Yes, excellent choice, as was the choice of Gaspard Ulliel. How did you prepare for this role? How did you work on your voice? The voice was the last thing to fit into place. It was instinctive. It kind of found its own way. The only thing we weren't too sure about was the voice, but quite logically, first of all, we worked on documents, we tried to find out all the facts, and then to digest it all, but then step away, to have freedom, and not forget that we were working on fiction here. The most important thing was the screenplay, the fabulous screenplay written by Bertrand Bonello and Thomas Bidegain, and we wanted to focus on their story, the story which they had written. The idea wasn't to become Yves Saint Laurent, but to make him true. There's a part of you in the character you play. Yes, why did you choose Gaspard? Well, let me just get back to what your other question was. I didn't want anyone to imitate Saint Laurent. What I have in front of my camera is Gaspard as much as Yves Saint Laurent. I wanted to come up with a character that was 50% of each, because the filmmaker wants to film what's in front of their eyes and their camera. And how was it for you, Jérémy Régnier, to play Pierre Berger? Well, you find out the facts. There wasn't too much available, but we talked together, and then there was a creative process. We read the screenplay. The negotiation scene is a long scene at the beginning of the film. When did you film that? I can't remember when we filmed that. I think it might have been in about the middle. I really enjoyed that. I really had a ball filming that one. Bertrand did wonderful work there. And the two of us, the two actors in that scene, could really spur with one another. It was absolutely thrilling. And we did it for a whole day. We devoted ourselves to that one scene for a whole day. A lot of questions about your choices, but for a scene such as the one we're talking about, why did you choose that to focus on that one for such a long time? Well, Yves Saint Laurent is synonymous with money and business as well. So rather than do lots of little images, I wanted to choose one long scene which talked about the past, the present, and the future of the company YSL, and have an instant in time which could make the whole thing seem real, so that the viewer could say, well, I don't understand the whole thing, but they know what they're talking about. It's a very dense scene, and I hope that it works. Yes, it does work. Léa Seydoux, you play the role of Loulou de la Falaise. What kind of view do you have of that period in time? Was it exciting, painful? What's your view on that period? Well, that period is really exciting. But perhaps, I'm idolizing something which I didn't really experience myself. But yeah, I think that Bertrand, the director, wanted to capture the essence of that time, which was perhaps more joyful and lively than today, certainly more tormented. Amira Kaza, you play a very loyal worker. How did you go about your character? Did you go to the workshops? Yes, indeed. What I like in Bertrand's work is that he tries to create an atmosphere. He is a filmmaker who focuses on atmospheres. And Yves Saint Laurent had his clan, which was a clan when everything was going really well. But the person I play, Madame Munoz, she is straightforward. She's on the straight and narrow path. Given this Christ-like Saint Laurent, she served him for 40 years and was his friend for 40 years. Yes, there's a contrast between the life in the workshops, where there's a lot of stress and tension, they're making the clothes, and then at night, Yves Saint Laurent goes out and loses himself. You, Améline, are a model, amongst other things. Please take the mic. So this look, this vision of the world of haute couture, is it the same as what you experience? It's not exactly the same, but it's not too different. We were on the catwalk, we had the same fashion shows. The difference is society in itself, given that fashion is a reflection of society. Can you go deeper into that? Well, today society goes faster. We have internet, the seasons follow on much more quickly. There are more fashion collections each year, whereas in those days it was haute couture, whereas with Yves Saint Laurent we see the birth of prêt-à-porter clothes. That's the main difference. Yes, Gaspard Ulliel, Yves Saint Laurent talks slowly, moves slowly. Well, particularly in the latter part of his life when Helmut was playing the role. Well, Yves Saint Laurent had his own rhythm. And it was interesting because in those days when things were moving quite fast, it was one way of stepping out of the surroundings. And in several of the sequences, I would say to myself, I need to be perched on the outskirts, looking in, because he's extremely sensitive. He's like a sponge. He absorbs everything around him. And that's what he could offer to the rest of the world in his collections. So he was kind of out of sync with all of the effervescence around him, particularly in the nightclubs. Bertrand Bonello, when you make such a film about an artist who is frustrated, who wants to be famous, wants to create, do you see any of those things in yourself? Well, it'd be a bit pretentious of myself to create an analogy there. But when you make a film like this, you have to do it for yourself in part. And at some stages, I might have said, yes, Yves Saint Laurent is me, just to get close to the film. I need to get as close as possible. And you have to feel it in your body. And I can see myself in several aspects, not all, but several. Do you get the feeling that he was inside you, inside your head, so that you could understand him? Yeah, I really can understand the proximity between the highs and the lows, the going up and the going down, which is very typical of Yves Saint Laurent, and I can feel it, or at least understand it. The photography is fine, the directing is wonderful, and Yves Saint Laurent is a very multiple character. How do you make your choices? How do you know what to add, what to take away? What's the process? When you make a normal fiction, a feature fiction, you're in the desert, you can build a house. However, when you're based on a history which already existed, you are faced with a mountain, you have to sculpt it to make the house which you're looking for. You take stuff off, until you're left with simply the marrow, the essence. Did you like Yves Saint Laurent? Do you like him? Complicated? Yes, of course, but I like him with a critical eye. I love him too. Of course. And you, Gaspard? Well, it's difficult for me to give you an answer in the negative. Of course, my job was to learn how to love him, not to judge him, just to be with him, even down into the deepest depths. It was an important part of my work when the shadow and the light switched places. Everything which he was doing outside the workshops, which was excessive and dark and a bit murky, those became the moments of light. And the workshop became something a bit more like a prison where he was made to feel like a child and people were watching him the whole time. And I think this is where the film and the person really took off. The nights, for me, became the scenes full of light. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in to talk to us. Can I add something? My body loves Yves Saint Laurent. Thank you, Amira. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, everybody. The film Saint Laurent is in the official competition. Let's take a look at some more pictures.